Hello, hello. Hi, Stacy. Welcome, welcome. I'm happy to do some shadow archetype reading, actually. I'll only give one archetype at a time here. But we'll wait to see if more people pop on for the live. Let me know how you're doing today. I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling really energized. Really adjusting well to actually doing a lot more with my time. Starting to open up. Not sure yet. I'm starting to open up for some different sessions here in Scotland, which is going to be really exciting. Excuse me while I finish my dinner here. I tried timing it right, but I'm just getting used to this propane stove, so I'm not super familiar with how long it takes. It doesn't have, like the temperature on it or anything like that. So I'll probably set up a second video if, if I'm on here for 5 minutes and no one else ends up joining, if it's just not the right time for people. So I'm going to keep shuffling, but I will do a separate video about shadow work for empaths. Let me know, Stacy, if you would like a shadow archetype card. I'm going to pull one for myself to start. Why do I do that? I do that because, and for anyone who watches this in the replay, I should actually open this fully. I'm Kate Graham of the Heart's Frontier. Thank you, Stacy. I will definitely pull one for you. If this is your first time watching a video that I've done, then this has been a really kind of soft opening. And you can see all the links below. Make sure if you like the vibe of how I speak and what I'm talking about, that you that you subscribe and like the video and everything. And I wanted to talk about, that's interesting, actually, Stacy. Yours is going to be fascinating. Mine is really interesting as well for what's been coming up for me recently. And so I wanted to kind of show through example in this live, and then I'll put out a second or third video that's static about shadow work for empaths and why it's important. So as many of the folks, who watch this after know, I am starting the next round of Empath Energetics, round 5, starting that April 30th is the last day to register, and we'll be starting sometime in May. I tend to wait until people sign up in order to figure out the right times for us all to meet so that more people can show up. So if more people end up joining this round than, in previous rounds, I might open up to do 3 times a week so I can be more available to people, kind of keep it flowy. So that is very exciting. And one of the things that we do in in Empath Energetics is shadow work. So month 1 is understanding energy, intuition development techniques, and then month 2 is shadow work. Phase 3 and month 3 is light work, and then month 4 and phase 4 is legacy work and what you're actually sharing out to the world. So I'll wait another minute and see if anyone else shows up. I'll take another bite here. But I do want to make some videos about why shadow work is actually important for empaths, and how I do differently, what shadow work is, because some people just do shadow work in a way where they identify their shadows and they don't actually do much work with them. And I'm not like that. I think a lot of people skip out actually doing the work of shadow work because it's icky. Once you face it, you feel like that's enough. You know what I mean? It's like once you face the shadows, you're kind of like, okay, that's about all I can handle. But really, it's actually about working with it, seeing how it can be of value, how it helps you, and the situations in which it arises. Sometimes you have to wait for that to actually be shown. So that's why we do shadow work for a whole month rather than, just here and there, or just identifying some and then and then thinking, it's done and it's over. Another way that empaths miss out on actually doing their shadow work is they'll name it and see it, but they won't get specific. So then when they try to share it with someone else, they'll say, oh, I'm doing lots of shadow work. Oh boy, shadow work, man, that's tough, isn't it? And then you just have all these people talking about this vague concept of of shadow work, which is, I'm like choking on my dinner. Let me take some water. Shadow work really is looking at these aspects of ourselves which are darker, or perhaps you could say they're negative or protective or defensive in some way, or harmful. Maybe they're self-sabotaging. And it's actually looking at what created these, how can we repair that, and what is the light aspect of that part of ourselves trying to say. And so when we understand more clearly the various different shadow archetypes we're working with, rather than just one to name us, we can actually work with them and move through it a little bit easier. I'm just going to make sure there's enough wood on my fire, and then I will tell you what your archetype card says after mine. All right, hopefully that's keep going there. All righty. Let's get into this. It's just us, so I'm going to, which is fine. I'm going to read mine, and then I'll read out yours and give a quick little reading for each or explanation of each. And then I'll head out and I'll do some other videos for shadow work, incorporating the shadow and light. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so my card, and the reason I'm doing this live is because I always do this in Empath Energetics. So I'm about to do it, I guess a month and a half from now, because we do it at the beginning of the month for shadow work. We do shadow readings, and then we work with 4 shadow archetypes as the month goes on. And I always pull my own cards and give a little bit of what my own story is, so that we know we're all in it together. I don't think it really makes sense for healing practitioners to stop their healing work. And actually I've found, because now I've done 4 rounds of this, and this is the 5th round, I found that my experience of it is easier and a little bit lighter as well. It's almost like the layers starting to clear. And so there is a point, I think, where you've really embraced most archetypes as being part of you, and you can see them a lot more clearly. But it's required, a lot of self-study. And so I like doing that self-study. That's why I do it. So here we are. I got Samaritan. So first, the light side of Samaritan. It refines your capacity to help those that you would prefer to ignore. The shadow is exacting appreciation and recognition for the help you offer. So this is a really interesting point. I think I've been feeling a large struggle this week and actually last week, with many people approaching me for support, and the idea of offering myself out for free on a regular basis is really challenging, because it has held me back a lot in my career, because I just like to help people. And so I'll find myself just getting caught in conversations instead of, allowing it to shift to a greater exchange, to an actual session with me, and for paying for my work. And so while I've grown accustomed to and more familiar with, okay, I've got to let that be the pattern that I take, I still feel this feeling of like almost frustration. The shadow that I've been feeling is almost like irritation when people are approaching me, and then if they're insulted, or if they're like if they act sort of offended, or if they just immediately put it down because they're not willing to pay for any support, and they only wanted to see if I had something to say for free. I kind of feel like a sense of judgment. And I think it's because I have this this side of myself that is like kind of a Samaritan type. And so I'm thinking back to this story of when I was a teenager, and someone who was living on the street sat next to me on a park bench, like on like a bench, a city bench. And they just started up a conversation with me. And I was a teenager. Oh, thank you, Stacy. I'm going to think about that. That's a real fair question. I'm going to think about that. Yeah, I'll think about it because, and I'll answer that in a second. So this story, I was sitting on like this city bench, and this man who did not, who was living on the street, sat next to me and started chatting to me. And I was a teenager, and I really thoroughly enjoyed the chat. And, it was just an easygoing kind of little moment, and friendly, and probably looked kind of strange to people because, I was probably like, I had come from my co-op, and I was like trying to be put together. I was like a little business kid. So I was probably like, really thinking I was put together. And my dad picks me up and he goes, "Kate, who was that you were talking to?" And I went, "Oh, that's, I don't know, whatever his name. That's John. That's Peter. That's whatever his name was. So, okay, that's Peter." And he was like, "How do you know him? Like, what just happened?" And I said, "Oh, he was just talking to me." My dad said, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" And I said, "I absolutely think it's a good idea if someone talks to me that I give them the time of day." And my dad said, "Okay, fair point." And it was like a good teachable moment between the two of us, because I just think, I don't think anyone should be ignoring people. And so that's the light attribute. But what I see the shadow in that is I have held myself back many times in the past, and I still get these sort of tests or challenges of, are you going to continue overextending your energy to everyone, thinking everyone needs your help? You have to, like, if people are ignoring some people, I need to go tend to those people. Like, I kind of feel that. And a part of it is from my upbringing. I felt as a kid like I felt like a duty to look out for, the underdog or the friend who was being left out, because I felt left out a lot. I was ostracized a lot and bullied a lot, actually. And, people would talk behind my back, and I would always make sure that no one was talking about anyone else badly, because I never liked that feeling of that person is being ignored or just forgotten about or pushed aside. I really, really felt that deeply. So this Samaritan side of me, even though that brings such light and such positive quality to my work and to what I do, and I still want to live that way, there is a shadow of expecting appreciation or recognition. Or I think actually it's almost like leaning into the light so much that I've actually just neglected myself in that process. So that's how I'm seeing this shadow play out. And that's what I'm getting from this Samaritan card. And, if this was Empath Energetics right now, we would then keep talking about this for a whole month, and it would come up multiple times, and you would see the different layers. You would see the different ways it might show up. And then situations tend to show up to test you or try you. So honestly, the last week and a bit, I've had tons of situations where this Samaritan heart has been like, "Oh, but maybe I will help. And, oh, maybe I could do this, or maybe I could do that, or I should just be nice just because." And even though I will still continue to do that, there are times that I actually need to keep a boundary and actually keep like not like a guard, but to actually allow for recognition. So it's like almost like I just wasn't expecting it enough in the past. And so it's a really good reminder actually of a potential shadow that I have, which harms myself, but also the light aspect of that, to celebrate where it comes from instead of just thinking, why is this so easy for me to to go into that pattern. Yeah. And maybe also like hoping or expecting some sort of recognition for people I've helped in the past. That's definitely a shadow. I'll say that for sure. There's definitely times where I've gone, oh, I put a lot of effort into this person or situation. And I would like to be recognized for that. And to be honest, it's actually not in my soul truth. I don't actually need that. I really don't when I admit it. In my mind, though, it can play through these cycles. And so that's another piece of this that I would likely address as the month goes on. Plus, you'll have 3 other ones. So you'd have four shadow cards. And then when we do light, 4 light cards. Okay, Stacey, time for you. You resonated with this. I think a lot of empaths would actually resonate with that, the Samaritan card. If you are here and you are enjoying watching these shadow readings and you'd like one for yourself, I'm happy to pull one. And I'm just kind of role modeling, sort of showing what shadow work identifying looks like. This is like thinking about and doing maybe readings on how that shows up. Okay, Stacey, yours is the mediator. The light attribute is a gift for negotiating fairness and strategy in personal and professional life. Respect for both sides of an argument. Mediator. I can already see how you're trying to be a mediator in certain situations that we've talked about. The shadow is negotiating with an ulterior motive or a hidden agenda, either personally or professionally. So I would first ask, where do you feel you might have hidden agendas? Or where are you trying to keep peace so that it suits you? Or where are you trying to create a negotiation or a compromise that you think it actually is more because of what you want and not because of what the situation is, or because of what someone has said to you, or because of what is actually true and fair? So sometimes the mediator sort of steps in and negotiates because this is really funny that you just said, I hate conflicts. I was saying sometimes the mediator doesn't do things, they step in and try to mediate and negotiate something because they don't want to see a conflict. But it's very healing and helpful for people to come into conflict and debate and opposition so that they can understand more of the world around them, of the people around them, and of how to navigate. I myself am not afraid of conflict, but I also don't enjoy being in conflict. So I can understand having the feeling of hating conflict. Definitely, I have a Pisces Mars. My Aries Venus and Sun. They don't meet the aggression doesn't really meet in the conflict zone, which I would say is your Mars. So Stacey, you might also want to look into your Mars placement if you haven't done that in a while, and think about how this mediator card meets with your Mars and conflict and how you deal with that in relationships. So negotiating. So like the light attribute is respecting both sides of the argument. That's a positive thing, right? If you can see both sides of the argument and say, you know what, you've got a point and you've got a point. I think the step is making sure that you're either a part of it because you're meant to be, or stepping back and allowing it. You can still understand both sides and respect both sides without actually trying to convince the other to back off. Because for a lot of people, I know for myself, the times that I have faced conflicts are times that I've really grown and really healed and really expanded myself. I don't think I chase them out, but the times that it shows up, it's telling me that there's something that needs to be addressed. And so if you could look at it as you're actually helping people, and this is important, empaths always want to be helping people. So if you could look at it as helping people by allowing them to fight their own fight, and you're simply the medic, waiting for them to come back and be wounded, and then you just help them with that, with sorting out the sore spots. That I think is a safer position for all involved. And I would also say it feels like there's at least one situation in your life where you are approaching it or negotiating, maybe attempting to get involved or negotiate with a motive that serves you. And so all of the mediators, flaws are really just making it about their voice. And so, yeah, backing off, learn how to back off. Yeah, I think that makes sense, right? That the shadow is really thinking that you're a necessary voice and not just sort of like an appreciated one. And I think as you start to reflect on this, you'll notice the times in which you're meant to actually just absorb. And then you'll also notice the times where this is a you conflict and you're meant to be involved and help face it. And if you're not involved, it's really not yours. So it's really like many times, listening more. I think that's a good way to work with the mediator shadow. And also really assessing, in a quiet time, taking a walk, like, is there anything I'm thinking, doing, hoping to negotiate? Like, even our thinking patterns are really, really powerful, right? So if we're trying to work around a situation in our minds, but we have an ulterior motive of, well, this is what I want the result to be, so I will think about it like this. In all conversations I have, I'll think about it because this is how I want to get what I want out of it. There's a certain extent that I think that's kind of natural and human, but there's a lot that we end up, and it's sort of just like more of a control thing, or more of a, avoiding conflict or avoiding disappointment, avoiding conflict with yourself, right? If you can have something go the way that you want it to, or if you can try to negotiate, convince, or, and I don't want to use such a harsh word as manipulate, but manipulate in a lighter sense, right? To just manufacture, even. If you're trying to manufacture like a perfect right situation, it's sort of you negotiating or coercing, like convincing with a hidden agenda, because it's not like honest on the outset. So I'm not sure what that relates to, but you might want to read into that. That those are their feelings and not yours. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and those are their feelings and their healing opportunities, right? So if you're afraid of conflict happening around you, and if anyone else is watching live, I know the numbers kind of jump here. If anyone else is watching live and you would like a shadow reading, let me know now, because I am going to log off in a few minutes, if not, and make some other videos about shadow work. So yeah, one of the interesting things I think about being a highly sensitive person, being an empath or being an intuitive, is we have such an easy time understanding layers of arguments and layers of conflicts and things. And it is so easy to side with the one that you empathize with even more, right? Or empathize with both sides and then understand both sides. And then suddenly you're completely involved, almost at your detriment. So there are times where, I have hyper focused on two people within a situation. And this is honestly probably why I don't have too many friend groups. I tend to have sort of scattered friends throughout because it's difficult to navigate, and maybe just not sort of what I've run into as much in life because I'm nomadic. But it's difficult to navigate when there's all these layers, and then you're sort of a forgotten piece in that, because a lot of the time you're actually not involved. You just become involved because others want your opinion. And it can be difficult to hold that in a completely unbiased way, because usually we have a feeling of which way we would lean, which way we kind of want something to go. And I just want to remind you again of the light attribute of mediator, because if you notice yourself sort of having that coercion or negotiating with a motive, that sort of feeling of, okay, I'm getting like quite involved and such. The light attribute is a gift for negotiating fairness and strategy. So it is a positive thing to be able to say, okay, I'm being fair and strategic, but I'm not involving myself with the emotional side of it. You try to do it from love. Yeah. And I bet that's a lot of what it is, Stacey, is that people will come to you because they trust you. And because they see that you are capable of helping them. Same with my Samaritan shadow. It's like people see that I have this heart that will take anyone in and say, I don't care if you've done really awful things, or if you are maybe outcast in some way. I think like I've felt outcast, and that will always be something, right? Stacey, you want peace, you want relationships. This is always something that you will care about, is people not just being an argument for argument's sake. I will always care about people not being cared for. Thank you for saying I have a great heart. You do as well. And yeah, I think that's the interesting part about going through our shadows, right? Like we have flip sides of every positive, beautiful thing we've got going on. We've got some sort of challenge as well that it can come with. So, yeah, I actually find shadow work a lot easier than light work. So can't wait for tomorrow. Doing my light work. Sin, let me know if you'd like a shadow card. I'm going to eat another bite of this because it's getting cool, but I really wanted to talk about shadow work today. And if you're not feeling like getting a shadow card, then I am going to head out for the day, no problem. And you can watch what I said earlier in the live about shadow work. Sure. Okay, great. Sounds good. So we do shadow work, just to answer your question, or you don't know shadow card, you didn't ask a question, but we do shadow work as part of the Empath Energetics program that I've developed that starts May 1st. It's a really pivotal part of why a lot of people join Empath Energetics, because it's like getting to know the sides of yourselves that are darker, that are bringing in flaws or patterns of problems in your life are revealed through doing shadow work. And I love using this archetype deck to get us started on that. And then we do a big exploration of it because it's a group program mixed with one-on-one. So I will give you, I really like this for you, Sin. Actually, I have a good feeling that it's gonna relate, and it relates to a lot of empaths. So I'm glad you're here because it brought this out. And in Empath Energetics, we do 4 of these. So, it would actually be really interesting if Stacy or Sin ends up signing up for Empath Energetics. It'd be interesting to see if this shadow card that I just pulled for you will show up again, or same with light work. Anyone who shows up for light work tomorrow, it'd be interesting to see. And that's just if people sign up. I put myself through every round through my own as well. So I pulled one for myself to get us started here, because I think it's important to recognize none of us are just done with healing. There's a lot more expansive work you can do. The more you do archetype work, the more you see how that has played a different role in your life. And at the same time, I've done 4 rounds of it. I'm about to do a 5th round. So that'll be, 4 for light, 4 for shadow. For each round, that's like a lot of archetype study. And now we do legacy archetypes. We didn't do that in round 1, 2, and 3, but we have done it in round 4. And I love doing that. Legacy archetypes was like a really mind-blowing sort of expanded way of looking at this. Anywho, Sin, here's your card. It's Rescuer. This is very typical for an empath or a sensitive being. Okay, so the Rescuer, the light attribute, says provides strength and support to others in crisis. Acts out of love with no expectation of reward. The Shadow assumes that the rescued will reciprocate, similar to my Samaritan card here, and it keeps the rescued one needy. So here's what empaths don't do right. When you are rescuing and feeling as though you are the hero, or feeling as though you are the one who can help people and no one else is helping people, this is again similar to my Samaritan card. It's like, if I don't help them, who will? I had that thought. I literally said that earlier, like yesterday. I said, I'm really struggling with saying no to someone because I feel like if I'm not helping them, I'm not sure if anyone else will. And that really frightened me. It really frustrated me. And at the same time, it was a really unsafe position for me to be in. It was someone who was not safe for me to work with, who was not expressing that they were ready to do work, and would actually be it would not be a good call for me to spend that energy that way. But it's almost this belief in others that they are in need of rescuing, that they are not capable of rescuing themselves, that you end up keeping them needy, because they'll almost energetically, it's like you're having this, oh, there's a really interesting bird here. I've never seen this bird. I want to take a photo of this bird. I can't show you all, but oh my goodness, it's like so special. And I want to ask someone later what kind of bird it is. Sorry. I mean, this is a typical empath thing. Let me take a photo of this bird. I don't know what bird it is. Oh my goodness. It's almost like a quail or something. I have never seen that before. That was really cool. Thank you all for thank you all for forgiving me for just getting majorly distracted. You know, empaths really like animals and have this like connection. And I knew this was going to be a thing, that having birds outside my window was going to sometimes be distracting. But birds are like messengers from the spirit world. And so it really impacts me when something interesting or different happens with the birds as I'm doing work like this. So I'm going to go look up what bird that was. And I can tell you guys later on the light archetype reading if you're on tomorrow. I'm doing it earlier tomorrow, though, so I know the timing might not work for people. And I'm going to be back Saturday evening to do open oracle readings again. Super fun. Okay, so with the rescuer, it's really easy to slip into a trap of believing that people need us, and also of not helping. It's almost like helping someone just put a band-aid on their situation instead of deeply helping them or supporting their long-term growth. And the reason that can be really, really problematic is that you're actually then sort of addicted to your egoic or identity kind of based version of being the rescuer. It's like you're actually keeping them more needy. So I'm curious in whether that resonates with you at all. Stacy says, I can relate. I understand. I can relate. And the beautiful part of that is that you are trying to help humanity. You are trying to rescue situations and people. And also this assumption, that's what I felt initially, actually. It's like this assumption that people who you've helped are going to reciprocate. They're going to help you. That doesn't always happen. Sin, let me know any questions that you have about this. You say sort of. It might just be a matter of it settling in and reflecting a bit more. Usually when I do the empath energetics readings, I give them out, I say what they are, and then we talk about them like every week, multiple times a week for a month. So there's a lot of deeper work that you can do. And I notice a lot of people have a challenge with accepting it immediately. And that would generally be because it is someone who spends a lot of time outside of themselves rather than in self-reflection, focusing more on what's happening in the outside world, the external reality. And so it's totally okay. That's just, we operate differently, some of us. And I have a feeling that might be part of what goes on. So me just saying, hey, what do you think about this really deep thing within yourself? It's like, well, maybe, I don't know, because it's like you want to actually vet it yourself first. So let me know if you have any questions or thoughts about that. But yeah, assuming that other people are going to reciprocate when really they're coming to you in need of help. That's another thing, right? If you assume that someone will reciprocate, it could build this sort of resentment or sort of even just a sense of grief, like, oh, I'm just so frustrated. No one really cares about me the same way I care about them. And it also shows up sometimes in our relationships, in our family, our friendships and connections, the pattern of wanting to rescue people and then hoping to be rescued. Right. And so what I talk a lot about in empath energetics, as it comes up, obviously, I see the same pattern in a lot of sensitive people. It's sort of a hero complex in a way. There's also a hero archetype, but rescuer kind of makes sense actually I actually do feel like it makes sense for your energy, since I'm curious whether it will end up sitting in and resonating with you any further. But what I tell a lot of people is it's the most beautiful thing for us to build faith that everyone can get out of the situations that they have found themselves in life. They can face challenge and they can grow and they can heal. To have faith in others' healing is really, really important for a sensitive or empathic person. Otherwise, people end up sort of in these cycles of feeling like they need to take care of everyone and that they're the only ones who will. They're the only people who are capable of getting someone else out of some situation, which really isn't logical. So I'm really glad that Samaritan card came out for me, because it really did actually show me this bird is still around. It's just so relaxed. It's a really big bird too, and looks like a female version of something. I wonder if it's a female wood pigeon, which would be very special. I would love some little wood pigeon babies around here because they're my favorite bird I've seen here in the UK so far. Okay, any more questions? Any more thoughts or feelings before I head off for the day? I've got some networking later, and I'm going to do some videos as well and post them before I head to sleep tonight. So lots of fun stuff to talk about coming up. And Empath Energetics is registration is open until the end of April, and it's the only one I'm going to do this year. Still sad to say, but that's just what it is. You're welcome, Stacy. You're welcome, Stacy. Sin, anything else you want to say before I head off? I'm just taking a bite of food here. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for showing up. I'll be back again tomorrow. Back again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And if you don't have me on Instagram, I'm at Nomad Named Kate. And if you are interested in PayPal donating for the work that we do here, then it's in the links below. You can also book a free 15-minute call. And that's it. Okay. Well, yeah, so I'll do open oracles on Saturday. Today was all about shadow work, and I'm going to try and stick to the topics that I'm coming in with. So stay tuned on my lives and just make sure you're getting notifications for any open oracle readings if you're interested in that. I received intuition, by the way, I'll update this. I received intuition that coming in May, I'm going to start doing by donation only readings. And so it can be any donation, but I'm going to do them by donation only. And then I'll just watch the app it'll say a question. You'll provide notes and things, and that's how we'll do it. But that's not till May. So lots of time. I'm glad I got you thinking. If you are interested in empath energetics and doing deeper amounts of this work, feel free to book a free 15-minute call and we can talk about whatever and also empath energetics and see if it works for you. If that's not what you're feeling, keep showing up to these open oracle readings. I like answering questions. I like having people here. And thank you all for being here. And if you're watching the replay, leave me a comment. Let me know you're here. And please like the video. If you like the video, then more people get to see this work. And I really like doing this work. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your days or evenings or afternoons or mornings, wherever you are. Take care.